yeah, I'm the lead writer for Watch Dogs, and I've been with the project for about 4.5 years, a long time. And so I'm in charge of making sure that the main story and the world narrative that you see around when you free roam in the game connects and flows for players. I have several writers that I work with who work with me. It's definitely a team effort, this kind of game.
Yeah. So how is it that how is it working on a game that a year ago was the big next gen title and then was delayed for a whole year?
Well, it's great.
What was the pressure?
It's great. The pressure. Yeah. I don't know. You know, Watch Dogs is a game that's had a lot of pressure from the get-go. Right from our announcement, there's been a lot of pressure on the game. So, you know, you take the pressure in stride, and you just, you know, we're aiming for the best game we can, and so that's, you know, I think I was happy for the delay because I thought, you know, we were, as we were getting towards the release date back in November, I think we all realized we've got a good game, but there's elements that aren't working the way we wanted them to work, as well as we wanted them to work. And so, you know, just the way the systems were talking with each other. So we thought, Ubisoft made the choice. I mean, that's a decision that ultimately doesn't come down to us. Me, the writer, does not decide when this game is going to be released or not. But, you know, upper management, they were like, okay, we're going to give you the time. You know,
So what did you spend the past 6 months doing?
Well, for me, it was a little different than other teams, but for me, we took it as an opportunity to add more information to the profiler. We've got a pretty detailed system where you can profile anybody and get information on them, and that's, every profile is unique in the game. You won't see it duplicated exactly the same ever. And so we just saw this as an opportunity to add more information to that database. It's really a database, it works off a system. We thought, okay, let's write a lot more stuff, polish that stuff. And then we also added, we went back to Chicago and recorded some more voices so that we can add more life to the living city. Again, it's about just building that immersion.
Yeah, immersion, you know, is, how do you create a convincing gallery of people, characters in the game, when there's a video player sitting on the other side, interfering all the time?
Yeah, it's a challenge, right? I mean, that's what originally drew me into video games in the first place, was this idea that, okay, you know, you want to tell a good, strong story, you know, and really to do that, you need to control all the pieces. And yet what we do in video games is say, well, you don't control all the pieces. You know, the player's going to come in and they're going to have agency over certain choices. And so that becomes a challenge. But it's a fun challenge, right? It's a good challenge. I think the biggest challenge out of that, especially with an open world game like we've got, is that you need to come up with a story that has momentum, but it can't have too much momentum, right? You can't have a ticking time bomb that the player has to defuse in the next 2 hours, because then they're not going to go wander the open world. They're not going to explore because they feel like the game is telling me I need to move right now. So it's tricky because you have to find that balance. You want momentum in the story, but not too much, so that the player has room to breathe.
It's interesting. I saw Steven Spielberg a couple years ago said that he was sad. He thought video games had a problem with flow and with narrative, you know, because they had these cutscenes all the time that kind of interrupted the flow.
Right.
He was talking about shooters in general.
Yeah.
I saw a few cutscenes in the first 1.5 hours.
Oh yeah, absolutely. We have some cutscenes. We have cutscenes in Watch Dogs. I mean, for us right now, they're a way to sort of set the emotional stakes for the player. You know, it's the details that are really hard to express when a player is just free roaming and able to control every moment. And it gets them in the mood where they're like, okay, I understand the situation now. I can embrace that idea, that emotion, and I can run with it on my own. But you know, there's something to what he's saying. I think we're still figuring out how we're going to tell our stories in video games. You know, cutscenes are no longer just simple cutscenes anymore. One thing that's been a huge change in games is mocap, motion capture. You know, bringing your actors in. When I started at Ubisoft, we used to do our motion capture with one actor and do the voice recording with another actor completely unrelated. Just, you know, it's like, okay, that's not the best way to do it. Now we're able to combine it all, and you know, the emotion that you're able to get out of the actors is pretty impressive. The subtleties you can get is much better than we've ever had. But yeah, I think we're still figuring out how we, you know, how we're going to improve storytelling in games.